Yeah, it was obviously a great test win, particularly as a spinner in these conditions to be able to, I guess, contribute. It's always the pressure being a spinner in when you come to these parts of the world is the ball's going to get thrown to you to take wickets for the team. So obviously Nathan taking 9 was incredible. He bowled beautifully on that wicket, and to be able to chip in with a few wickets at my end as well was nice. And then Trav as well to come in and sweep up the tail was just an awesome spell of spin bowling. So yeah, it was a really good win. Great to start off the series that way. It's always nerve-wracking, I guess, the first test. How you're going to go in these foreign conditions. So to get that one out of the way is very good.
The first 2 wickets, the first one in particular, you looked pretty pumped up. Can you just talk us through the emotions?
Yeah, it was a bit of a pressure relief. I don't know how many overs it was in between my last test wicket, but yeah, that was definitely one I wanted to get off the back. It'd been a long dry spell for those 2 tests in Pakistan with no wickets, so big pressure release off of that, getting that wicket, and then the second one came pretty quickly as well. So I guess that got me on a roll and got me feeling a bit more comfortable.
So that plays on your mind. I think it was fine.
Okay.
It was a long way. That's a lot of balls, mate.
Yeah.
Just tell us what it's like to come and go through that kind of pressure. How you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It does play on your mind. It definitely creeps in. Why am I taking wickets? What am I doing wrong here? But at the same time, I know over in Pakistan, for me, it was trying to stay effective. A big focus of ours was controlling the tempo of the game over there, and to be able to still have an impact, keeping the runs down while the ball was reversing at the other end, or while Gaz was spinning it out of the rough at the other end. That was sort of what I had to bring my mind back to, even if the results weren't up my end. So. I guess over here it might be a little bit different. The spinners are obviously going to have more of an impact than the quicks here. So, a little bit of a shift in mindset there. And the coaching staff's given me that sort of freedom, I guess, to go all out attack and try and really rip the ball hard, take wickets as soon as I come on to bowl. So, it's a little bit of a mindset shift there. But, glad I've got a few out of the way now.
Is it the case that when you come in and looking for a bit more flight, is that not being sort of being more aggressive? Is that a big part of it? Not trying to get to the ball so quick?
Did you say more flight?
Yeah, is that sort of what your approach is?
Well, I think you've got to adapt to the surface. I think over here we found that certainly different paces are reacting differently off the wicket. I think it's a matter of flight. It's a matter of what shape you're putting on the ball, the angle of the seams. I found it quite effective in my first sort of spell, bowling with quite a square seam, so not as over the top of the ball. Some were skidding past the left-hander's edge, and then some were ripping back into his gloves, and so that sort of worked for me, and I stuck with that for a little bit. But then you saw Gaz bowl with his beautiful overspun shape at the other end, getting heaps of bounce and getting gloves, top edges, and whatnot. So. Obviously, the conditions here are sort of suiting both, and that's the whole thing about bowling in a partnership. I think is you've got to throw different things at them, and I think that's why Gaz and I worked really well the other day, particularly in that first innings. We were sort of bowling with different shape on the ball, and for me, it's about finding the right thing, finding the right shape, finding the right pace that I can be consistent with. So whether that is bowling with more flight, whether it's bowling, slightly flatter, on the day it could be different. So for me, I think on these slower wickets, sometimes a little bit of extra airspeed can be a little bit more effective. But in saying that, when the tail comes out, I still like to throw them up a little bit and get them coming out of the crease. So a bit of both to answer your question.
And square seam, is that something have you done much of that in Australia, or is it not the case in Australia? So therefore, is this the first time you really actually trying to bowl
It's certainly not as effective in Australia, but it's definitely something that this tour, Pakistan, this tour, and looking forward to India, I've sort of had my eye on them for a long time. Working back at home on some slower turning wickets that I'm lucky enough to bowl on up at the NCC there in Brisbane. It's been something I've been playing around with my wrist position and what's effective on slower wickets. So while it's probably the first time I've been able to implement it in an actual game that's slow and turning like this, I've certainly done a lot of work behind the scenes on these types of wickets. So and that goes all the way back to 2016-17 when I was, part of the India tour there, academy tour to MRF, a long time ago, but it's been a long time coming to get to this point and work on that seam position and what's effective on these slower wickets.
When did you know you were playing this test? There was a bit of speculation, or at least we were speculating about who might play in the first test. When did you know, and sort of was that sort of a relief given talked about the gap between wickets, sort of knowing that you were going to get another go?
Yeah, it was a relief. I think I found out 2 days prior to the test, so officially. So that was I was always preparing to play, but I guess to get the actual nod was nice. Sort of a bit of a relief, I guess. You can just put your focus all in on what's coming up. So that was good, and there was a bit of speculation there, but I guess from the conversations I'd had with Ron, Dan, Paddy, they said while I probably didn't have the tour I wanted in Pakistan, they still thought that one, in that test in Karachi, I was quite unlucky to not get a few more wickets, and two, that I was still able to play a role in that in that test series win. So personally, while it wasn't the greatest tour for me, they said I still played a part in in that series win. So that was great to get their backing as well. It gives you a lot of confidence.
And once you are in and you do see the wicket and you do expect it's going to really turn, you mentioned that pressure expectation on spinners. I mean, how do you handle that? Do you talk to anyone about sort of that, and do they reassure you that you don't have to take all the wickets, or how does that sort of work? Have you lent on anyone particular in this group?
I think the luxury of this group is there's a lot of senior players to lean on here. Obviously, Paddy's a very calm, collected sort of captain. So when a lot of things are happening, he's great to go to just to sort of settle the nerves, talk about getting back to what the plans were, and so he's great with that. I've got a great resource in Dan Vittori off the field when there's breaks or in between innings and whatnot to chat to about plans there. Also guys, I've got my Queensland captain Uzi standing at mid-off sometimes, so he's great to go to. And then Gaz as well, you know what I mean? He's 100 test, top 10 wicket taker, great resources for me. So it makes my job a lot easier to just focus on what I'm trying to do, and those guys can sort of help out, I guess, with planning and calming the nerves. And I'm very lucky. Yeah.
And Tori mentioned yesterday that sometimes it's a challenge for spinners when it is working so well for you to actually stick to the plan. Did you find that when it was all happening very fast in this game, did you find you had to sort of calm yourself? Yeah, definitely. I think after those back-to-back wickets for me, the excitement levels went through the roof. I think probably both Gaz and myself, we probably got a little overexcited and over-attacked a little bit. And on these wickets, you don't have to over-attack. The wicket sort of does the work for you. So that's certainly a lesson we learnt. We came back out after the break and wrapped up the innings pretty quickly, going back to what we were doing well in the first place. So that'll be something we'll try and take forward into this second test, not to let the game excite us a bit too much, and just do what we do best. And just to sort of the long-termish partnership with Gaz as well. I mean, you finish the series, and then there's a home summer in Australia. 2 spinners, highly unlikely, most pitches sort of thing. Do you just look at the next sort of maturity of years, the next time to reform that partnership, or do you want to stay with Gaz for as long as possibly in all conditions?
Yeah, I think it's a very biased opinion for me to think that 2 spinners can't be effective back home, but I don't like my odds on that happening. So I guess for me it's about staying ready, being around this group's great. It's one of the the best jobs in the world to be able to be a part of this group, and for me, I'm obviously got one eye on India. That's definitely a goal of mine, and a goal of this group is to get a series win over there. Would be amazing. But like you said, there's a lot of Test cricket before then, on the conditions where the quickies might probably prefer. So for me, it's about staying ready, being going back to Queensland if that's what it is, and performing there. And like you mentioned, I love bowling with Gaz. It's been great both times in Pakistan and here. He's been great to work with, and
It's great having an off spinner and a leg spinner. I think working in tandem, yeah, it's again a biased opinion of mine, but I think it's something we don't see enough of in cricket. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Do you reckon actually makes him a better bowler too when he's got another leggy down the other end? Like you've spoken about that being quite a cricket with Zams. Like do you feel it's the same as yesterday?
That's a tough one. I mean, you'd probably have to ask him how he feels bowling with a leggy. But I guess for me, what I've seen of Gaz is just the same thing you always get with Gaz. He's that ultra consistent, spins the ball hard, goes through his process, and he just hits that spot all the time. And that's why he's where he is now. That's why he's the GOAT. He has one of the best stock balls probably you've ever seen. Particularly for a finger spinner, for him to be able to put that much spin and bounce and still land the ball so well. That's why he's so good. So I don't think his process has changed too much, regardless of who's bowling around him. I think he goes about his business and we sort of work around him. He's earned that right.
Just on, you're talking about India there a little bit. So the two tests you played in Pakistan were flat out. It's the polar opposite. You almost feel like it's the perfect preparation in terms of getting two kind of extremes that you might get in India.
Yeah, I think it's great preparation. I think well, for me anyway, just experiencing Test cricket itself was great preparation. Pakistan was a tough tour for me personally, but I think if I hadn't played those two tests over there, I probably wouldn't have had the impact I had this first test here. So I think each time you go out there and play and pull on the baggy green, you learn things, you build on those experiences. And particularly, like you mentioned, the conditions are almost polar opposites. So getting, probably the two extremes are a good preparation, I think, is a good preparation. So, who knows what the wickets will be like over there. It's a long way away yet. But, I think it will hold us in good stead that we've had these two different conditions.
Just a quick one. There's a strong Shane Warne presence in this test match in this series. Obviously, it's the Warne in the series. To give every leggy to come in, the team obviously carries that sort of torch of what Warnie did, but given this particular series with the banners all on the ground and the trophy, did it hold any extra significance to you to be able to have an impact in this particular game, in this particular series?
Yeah, I mean, something I probably didn't think of while I was out there, but it was hard not to notice, all the Warnie portraits up around the ground. So, I mean, it's great. He did a lot. I think, we've been out these last couple of days travelling around, seeing a couple of the sites, and a couple of our drivers have mentioned, all the work he did for the Sri Lankan Tsunami Fund and all that stuff. So he's had a massive impact on this country with his cricket and off the field as well. And it was great to see them pay tribute and see how much, they respect the man. And I mean, for me as a leggy, it's hard not to, put yourself in that conversation. But at the same point, I'm in no way, shape or form trying to be Shane Warne. He's the best we've ever had, and to even take the same field that he did for me is a great privilege of mine. And I'm just looking to try and, I guess, do things my way and trying to make an impact for this team and do whatever's best for the team. Yeah, I think a little bit. I haven't had a lot of it over here, but I know whenever people ask you, what do you do? I bowl leg spin. I like Warnie. So yeah, so that's just the mark he left on the game. So he's a legend.